Now, I'm really interested in how, when you wrote your book, you have a lot of interesting information. Were you able to do all of that from your memory, or did you take notes secretly and keep them somewhere?
No,
how did you do that?
no. It's all memory.
Because I know one of the Luftwaffe pilot that I told you about, that who was a prisoner of war, he was able to keep a small diary, but he had to keep it very secret from the Russians.
They took everything from you.
Yeah, but he told me that they had a little wooden box that they would put the horta in, the Russian tobacco.
You see here, this here comes from two men.
Yes, yes.
From two men, you could open it. I had to pay 100 grams bread for this.
Can you lift it up so I can see it? I cannot see it.
You know why? Well, that was I was writing when I went home. You know why I bought that? Somebody, before I walked in that woodworking shop, that guy made these boxes, and then they gave us a little teaspoon, and with a knife they filled it with sugar, and they went like this. So you had the 2-gram sugar. Why they gave us this sugar, I can't, because sugar was like gold there. With sugar you could buy anything. So I said, if they come up with more sugar, I have to have a thing like this, because where can you put sugar,
Right.
In your pocket, no.
Yeah.
So I bought this, but they never came up with more sugar. So that was the only, and they went over with that was maybe 2 grams of sugar. And I was very happy for the sugar, but it was in here originally. I kept it for the next day half. I ate only 1 gram sugar and kept it,
Mm-hmm.
But everywhere were thieves, they would steal it, You have to put it in your pocket.
Wow.
The only thing you brought back.
Mm-hmm. That's the only thing you brought back from Russia, was that box.
No, and nothing else, absolutely nothing else.
So you said you got no spoons or knives or forks. Did you have to make your own wooden spoon then? How did you get?
They gave us a wooden spoon. Idiotic done. I mean, they carved the spoon and then they lacquered it. But the lacquer, it's poison.
Yeah, that's.
It was stinking. You went in your hot soup and the lacquer was stinking, but I had no sandpaper to sand that off. So you don't care, you said, well, I'm anyway on my way down. I spooned down the sugar, and after a month the lacquer was gone. It was in my stomach, it was in my body.
Wow. I know so few German prisoners made it back from Soviet prison camps. And I know you said at one point that you met some men who'd been captured at Stalingrad, but you mentioned in your book that you actually met some of the
Yeah, that's in camp 185.
So that was early on then?
There was not one, there were maybe 50 or 100 guys from Stalingrad. They treated them very, very, very bad. They had to walk all the way to Siberia. They were 20 years old and they were standing there with men of 95. On the stick, there was proverka in the evening, counting. So you had to go out and stand there. They were standing there, they had all a piece of wood in their teeth and chewing on the wood. There was nothing. They carried big logs out, trees, whole trees they carried out. I did that too. And a tree, 7 miles in and 7 miles out with a tree, and 7 miles in the afternoon and 7 miles out. Under a tree. That was a slave caravan of a few thousand people. They went this way. I see that, and into the woods, and they wouldn't talk. These guys didn't talk anymore. They just lived a little bit, they had a little bit life in them, but they were really, really bad. They were mentally and physically real bad, these guys.
Now, in your camps, would they have a prisoner count every day or twice a day?
Every day.
When would they do the prisoner count?
Mostly in the morning, yeah. Well, then after a while, they stopped that. We went to different parts around the plywood factory, some they cleaned the trash away, and some they were like me making étagère, and the others did something else. In later years, after 3 years, they were hardly guarding us. We were part of the labor force there.
Right. I mean, where could you go, right? Where could you escape to? I mean, there's no place to go, right?
No, not only. You have to go over swamps, 10 kilometers over one swamp, and then you end up on, you could not walk home. Trans-Siberian Railway, there are armed guards, they keep that safe. And if you go through the bush, you starve to death, there's nothing to eat.
Right.
There's no village, there's no people, there's nothing.
So nobody tried to escape.
Yeah, some people did. They didn't go anywhere. They went in the middle of the winter, entered the train, and were lying on the stuff they entered the train, but it was so cold when they came up to the Ural Mountains, they had to get out or be absolute dead. Oh. And an armed guard saw them on a railway station, made brut, 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 and some people were killed. And one guy was a fresh guy. He would do anything. I mean, he had no fear. And he was laughing at this. I mean, he tried, and the Russians bring always the guys back. If they catch them, they bring him back. Only one man, a German Romanian, a blonde guy, we were good friends. I came from the Banya, from my, wash. In the winter, I was icy cold, and I could see him in that little bit light. Good evening, Scherer. And then we didn't see him anymore. He brought the bread from the bread factory to different places with a horse and a sled in winter. And the bread was in there. The women there gave him every time a bread or two more. And he made it in sukhari. He tried it, put it in sacks. He slept at a girl, a private kolkhoz, a bunch of houses with people who worked together. Stalin kept them free. He wanted to see what the free enterprise does and what this kolkhoz is doing. And they made much better than the kolkhoz because they had everything to eat and they had nothing to eat. So finally he took a sled and a lot of dried bread, and he went away toward Romania. But we never heard anything from him. He could be killed by wolves, he could be frozen, he never came back. Huh. I'm really interested if he really made it home.
Wow.
But nobody else, where can you go? You have nothing to eat, and all around where we were was swamp. Now they are drilling in the swamps and pump oil out. And gas,
So the mosquitoes must have been terrible in the summer.
Oh, mosquitoes, black flies, sea nothings, everything was there. But they had nothing to fight it.
Right.
Most of the time we made a fire and go a little bit if we were outside in the forest. If you cut clover or grass, they gave you in the morning. Well, first time I went, only the scythe, the knife.
Mm-hmm.
You had to make your own handle, and the little handle you had that made in the bush.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Huh.
Yeah. It's all primitive, all primitive.
Well, but you learned some interesting survival skills while you were there. What about suicides? Did some people simply give up hope and commit
no,
suicide?
nobody I know.
Really? Okay. So everybody kept hope up. They kept hope.
Everybody wanted to go to a place where there is more bread, you know.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to starve to death. Nobody.
Now, how often would they give you clothing? Because yeah, I think on several occasions you said you got clothing from the Russians.
Yeah, you get clothes in winter. You get winter clothes. You get a fur coat, rukavica, that is gloves. In lamb fell, all hair inside, you know.
Okay.
And a cup that closes through here. Boots right up to your knee. Felt boots, you know. They make a whole thing and a whole foot, and then you run with that, and you don't slide on ice.
Huh.
You don't slide on ice at all. I didn't slide not 1 centimeter there with these felt boots.
Well, yeah. Now I think I was reading that in May they would take your boots away from you and you were barefooted, correct?
Yeah. In summertime we were barefoot all the 4 summers.
Okay. And then they give you the boots back in October, you said, and when it got colder.
The 1st of October they give you the boots back. Yeah, but in summertime you had to, if you mow, you walk on stubble.
Yeah.
You know, you walk on stubble. It's very, very uncomfortable, all without shoes.
Did you ever have any problems with your feet?
If you are not used to that, you get a little fine sand in between your toes because you have European toes. The Russian toes are like this. But if the toes are like this, then between the toes, you scratch all the skin out and it starts bleeding, you know.
Yeah. Can you tell us about how you heard about the end of the war?
When Lisa brought me this tea and I was revived, 2 months later I could walk. So I walk outside in the morning. There was a German communist. He was a good guy. And maybe his father was a communist. He was a very good guy. He was responsible for the camp. He was the manager for the camp. He had nothing to do with work or anything else. So he walked with me. I was good friend with him, Walter Gimbach. No, not Walter Gimbach. Walter Gimbach was in the sauna. It was, well, my brain, I get it, but it takes 10 minutes. Anyway, I walked with this guy on a wooden sidewalk. The leaves were coming out. There were some trees there, the leaves coming out. Oh, it's a wonderful day. And suddenly all the sirens went up. And she said, what is this? All the sirens blow. So we come on, we go to the gate and ask the guy there what happened. And we open the door to the soldier there and said, Sto, was ist das? And said, the war is over. Oh, wow. We thought we are going home soon. Well, that was 45 in May. And no, we didn't go home, certainly not. And I walked back with Jupp Kinauer. Now my brain brought it. Jupp Kinauer. Jupp means Joseph. Kinauer is his name. And a German communist. That's why he got that post. He walked in and Jupp. I looked at Jupp and he was crying. And I hugged him and said, why are you crying? He said, these animals won the war. And he was a communist. He was a German communist. He said, these animals won the war. Jupp Kinauer said, come on, Jupp, we are very soon going home. And Jupp went home early. I don't know how he made it. Did he die or did he go home? I don't remember he was no more there when the last ones of us went home.
I mean, I realized that once the war was over, the Russians slowly sent very sick Germans home and so on. Being healthy was not good because you wouldn't get to go home, right? I mean, you were healthy, so they kept you, correct?
Yeah, but I was healthier as the guys who had tuberculosis. They were white like paper. They sent sick people home. And then the police officer of the camp, KGB long arm, he knew my file was full statements against the Soviets, and they didn't want to let me go home. So as soon as I had a friend like Franz Gauff, we worked together and made the étagère. He sent, 1 year before me, he sent him home. He take my friends away and sent them home and kept me there. Then I was good friend with Hans Huber, a butcher from Bavaria, and I was a good worker. They made a huge sign, Herbert Scherer, Karoshina Bodzic for 1947. I was the best worker in the factory, but it didn't matter. I was anti-Bolshevik. They didn't send me home.
Okay.
They sent the Huber Hans home. Sent them all home, my friends, and kept me there.
So they finally released you, I think, in October 1948. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Can you tell us how you finally heard that you were going to be going home?
I came from a Kolros on foot 60 miles, and my one foot was bleeding. Well, we didn't have the best of shoes, the shoes, unbelievable stuff. And I marched on, and I came home. And then the guys in the camp who saw me said, "Hey, Scherer, did you go to the police office and see that there is a list of people who go home?" I thought, a list? I'm not on that list. If he made a list, he made it. Why did he make a list? He just let them all go home, send them. I didn't go to the police office to see that Herbert Scherer was not there. I didn't go there. And I sang a song. Everybody was quite happy. We are going home. And I sang a song all day long, the same song. And one guy said, "Scherer, put a different disc on, We want to hear another song." I said, "Come here." And I went to him. He was from northeast Germany, and he was a high up guy in a Nazi organization. Was not Nazi, but it was, that the men had to go to this, to these organizations if they want to survive in this time. So they found out, because the Russians at this time were in northern Germany, they found out that he was the highest guy in this organization. So he said to me that, "Don't let me go home." I said, "Well, that is terrible. But, they might keep you a month longer and then they send you home anyway, because they have nobody sent home. Too many people died." And so I left him, and next day he said, "Everybody to the door. You are walking out." And I walked out. I was not on the list. I walked out. So they started with A, and the S was no Scherer, and I said, "Don't worry." And I thought, the SGH is on the end of the Russian alphabet. So I wanted to the end, almost everybody out. And the last guy was Schäfer. And the police officer wrote that on that list, Schäfer, because even then I said, Schäfer, he went home 3 months ago. He's long time at home. And the nurse, another Polish nurse who did that, and the police officer was standing there and going up to his thing and watching me boiling, but I didn't boil. All they could do, keep me there, and I died 1 year later. I couldn't make it longer than that because my kidneys and my liver and my everything, my heart was bad. So I went to the nurse and said, Schäfer is wrong, must be Scherer, that's me. She made a line through Schäfer and tried underneath Scherer. She knew that the police commissar told her to do that. And I walked out and said, Scherer, you were lucky that they let you go.